When Margaret Brennan drove away from her neat Ohio home that August morning, not even her closest friends could have predicted she would simply evaporate. No note, no struggle. Just a locked front door, a nearly empty coffee cup in the kitchen, and her loyal black terrier Molly left whining by the window. At 82, she was as reliable as sunrise, retired schoolteacher, church deacon, and queen of the Tuesday Bridge Club. Her home in Buckeye, Ohio, stood spotless behind the picket fence, garden in perfect bloom, porch swing freshly painted by her own hand. She had a doctor's appointment, routine blood work, nothing urgent. Her little black terrier, Molly, scampered around her heels as she checked her bag, straightened her cardigan, and locked the door with a neat, practiced gesture. To the neighbors, Margaret's day was utterly ordinary. Mrs. Patterson next door saw her load Molly into the Camry. "Just taking her for the ride, since I'll be gone a bit," Margaret called cheerily. She waved, her signature pink scarf fluttering against the late summer green. Not a soul in Buckeye suspected anything was wrong. Not then. Margaret's route was the same as always. Down Maple, right at the pharmacy, across the old rail bridge, past St. Andrews. But she never arrived at the doctor's office. She called at 10:15 to apologize for running late. After that, nothing. The staff made a note, assumed traffic or a misturn. By noon, Daniel Brennan, her only son, got the call. "Your mother missed her appointment. Did she perhaps reschedule?" A stone settled in Daniel's gut. He called Margaret's cell straight to voicemail. He drove to her house, found Molly scratching at the back door alone and the Camry gone. The kitchen was spotless, coffee mug in the sink, her reading glasses by the crossword. On the counter, her desk calendar read, August 15 to 10:30, Dr. Morrison. Pick up Molly's treats. Daniel called the police. By 1 p.m., officers searched the area, retraced the route, checked hospitals. The Camry was missing. Daniel and neighbors canvassed Buckeye, putting up flyers, phoning every friend. Margaret's absence felt like a hole ripped in the fabric of the town. The first days blurred with activity. Search teams swept the woods and back roads. State troopers set up alerts. The local paper ran Margaret's photo on the front page. Retired teacher missing. Daniel slept little, subsisting on caffeine and hope. When the week ended, police briefed the press. No evidence of foul play. Voluntary disappearance not ruled out. Margaret Brennan's car, a red 2018 Toyota Camry, license YOY 7921, still missing. Daniel raged. "My mother doesn't run off. She hated travel, never missed a bill, didn't even like leaving Molly for a haircut. Something happened to her." But suspicion was a cold comfort. The official story was elderly woman, possible memory issues, last seen alone. That was all. 8 months passed. Margaret's friends kept hope alive, searching, posting, organizing vigils. Police moved on. The only break came that spring. A logging crew clearing brush in Blackwood National Forest found a mound of logs covering the crushed remains of a red Camry. When they pulled the debris away, the car's rear window gleamed up through the mud. The VIN matched Margaret's. She had been missing 241 days. FBI Special Agent Patricia Chun led the recovery. The site was remote, 10 miles of rutted forest road, far from any main route. Someone had arranged the logs carefully, not haphazard. The trunk was jammed shut. Daniel arrived, his heart pounding, as crime scene tape fluttered between mossy pines. He recognized the car. In the front seat, beside a battered purse and a pink scarf, sat Margaret's favorite copy of Jane Eyre. The keys were still in the ignition, but of Margaret herself there was no sign. Chen's team bagged evidence. The purse with Margaret's wallet, a bottle of medication, her driver's license, and checkbook. Daniel's hands trembled as he confirmed each item. One bag held a gold watch with a stretchy band and a necklace that read, "World's Best Grandma," all things she'd worn the day she disappeared. It was her, but she wasn't there. Chin was calm but direct. "We're treating this as a homicide now, Mr. Brennan. The car was deliberately hidden. Whoever did this wanted Margaret, and whatever happened to her, to vanish." For Daniel, the nightmare began all over. For the first time in months, he felt something colder than grief. The prickling certainty that someone, somewhere, knew exactly what happened to his mother. As dusk fell over Blackwood Clearing, Daniel stared at the battered Camry, its back seat littered with old receipts and bridge club schedules, a silent testament to a life erased. He had one purpose now: find the truth no matter the cost. The morning after the car's discovery, Daniel awoke in his mother's empty house. Sunlight streamed across her desk, illuminating the neat rows of checkbook registers and color-coded files. In the silence, her absence screamed. He poured coffee and sat in her chair, flipping through the checkbook. Margaret's handwriting was tiny, even precise. Rent, groceries, donations to St. Andrews. But a series of recent entries stood out, all made out to Ashley Kovich Care Services, $75, $100, $250. Each was marked with a discreet question mark in the margin, something his mother never did. Ashley Kovich. Daniel scoured his mother's address book. There in blue ink, Ashley, 555-1982, Mon/Thursday visits. He called the number. A cheerful, professional voice answered. Ashley speaking. Daniel introduced himself as Margaret's son. "Oh, Daniel, I was devastated when I heard. Your mother was so special. I keep hoping she'll walk through her door again." Ashley explained she started helping Margaret in January, after a little fall left Margaret shaken. Just light errands, medications, groceries, sometimes helping with bills. Ashley was quick to add, "Margaret was so independent. I just tried to make life easier." Daniel asked about the payments. Ashley laughed lightly. She always double-checked everything. That's just how she was. Still, something itched in Daniel's mind. His mother never mentioned hiring a caregiver. He checked the rest of the ledger. July and August payments grew larger, more frequent. The last entry, August 14th, Ashley Kovich, verify amount. Daniel checked Margaret's calendar. August 14th, Ashley, confirm hours. Bank. August 15th, doctor, 10:30. Pharmacy. He called Agent Chun. "I think this caregiver might be connected." Chun agreed to dig deeper. "We'll pull her background. Anything else odd?" Daniel mentioned the safe in Margaret's closet, a small electronic unit his mother always insisted he know the code for. "I checked it last night," he said. "The lock was jammed. Someone entered the wrong code 3 times. It's been tampered with." Ashley had been in the house just days before Margaret vanished. Daniel realized. The safe held bonds, jewelry, and a master list of passwords Margaret kept for emergencies. Daniel's worry curdled into fear. By midday, Daniel's phone rang again. Mrs. Chun, Margaret's neighbor. "Daniel, has Ashley contacted you?" The old woman sounded anxious. "She's been helping me since February. She offered to organize my bills. Yesterday, she asked if I wanted to set up online banking." Mrs. Chun declined. She got a little upset. Said I didn't trust her. Daniel's dread deepened. "Please, don't let her in again, Mrs. Chun. I'm calling the police." Agent Chun looped Daniel in on her investigation. Ashley Kovich was not her real name. Her actual surname was Kowalski, and she'd been investigated for elder exploitation in 2 other states, always just shy of criminal charges. Each time, she vanished before police could press charges. By sunset, Chin had placed a watch on Ashley's apartment and told Daniel not to confront her alone. Daniel spent the night in Margaret's house, every creak and shadow pressing on his nerves. In the dark, he heard the back gate rattle, the faint scrape of shoes on brick. He flicked on the lights and peered through the blinds. No one in sight, just a sense that the house, and whatever secrets Margaret left behind, were being watched. Daniel barely slept. The house, once a haven, felt unfamiliar. Every floorboard creaked like a warning. Every gust of wind sounded like footsteps. He paced Margaret's living room at dawn, mind-churning. What if the little fall Ashley mentioned was never a fall? What if his mother's suspicions had painted a target on her back? He made coffee strong enough to chase away nightmares and decided, if there were answers, they'd be found in the safe. The closet door stuck, as if resisting. The safe, a sturdy gray box Margaret had owned for 20 years, sat tucked behind coats, flanked by shoe boxes of old birthday cards. Daniel punched in the familiar code, her wedding anniversary. The keypad blinked red. Key override required. Someone had locked it out with too many failed attempts. His heart hammered as he retrieved the override key, a tiny brass thing his mother once taped behind a photo in her nightstand. He twisted it in the slot. The mechanism clunked open, releasing a faint scent of lavender sachets. Inside, several envelopes labeled in Margaret's spidery hand. Bonds, insurance, will... Her jewelry box, velvet faded, contents all present. A thick envelope marked passwords and, disturbingly, Ashley. He opened it. Inside, a handwritten note. Ashley asked for safe code, said I'd forget it after fall. Refused. Found her in bedroom, said she was organizing. Told her never to touch my desk. There was more, scrawled in haste. Checkbook off. Amounts don't match. Talk to Daniel. Copy everything. Below, a neat table. Check numbers, amounts, dates. All Ashley's payments, most with question mark. Margaret had been on to her. Daniel's throat closed. His mother, sharp as ever, had seen the theft and was quietly gathering evidence. Had she called the police? He checked Margaret's phone records. No calls to authorities. She'd kept in the family, intending to talk to him, maybe give Ashley a chance to confess. The kind of mercy only a true teacher could show. The password sheet included all her online banking info. Daniel logged into her account on her laptop, hands shaking. He checked the last 6 months. The payments to Ashley were there, each for care services, amounts growing over time. But then, on July 24th, a $5,000 withdrawal at a local branch. Totally out of character. His mother never withdrew more than $200 at a time. He followed the digital trail. The money was gone. No notation, just a line item. The bank security logs showed the withdrawal was done in person. Margaret's signature. But he stared. The handwriting was off. The M curled differently. He snapped a photo and sent it to Agent Chun. His phone rang almost instantly. Daniel, this is Chun. You just gave us what we needed. That withdrawal was not your mother's signature. We'll subpoena the branch's surveillance footage. This is turning into a criminal case, fast. Relief warred with fresh dread. If Ashley knew the police were involved, she might bolt or do something worse. Daniel returned to the safe. The last item was a flash drive taped under the jewelry tray. On it, scans of checks, photos of receipts, screenshots of text exchanges between Margaret and Ashley. One message from Ashley was especially chilling. Ashley, you can trust me, Margaret. I'm like family now. Margaret, family doesn't need my passwords. Daniel scrolled for the last few texts, all dated just days before Margaret vanished. Margaret, we need to talk about these payments. Ashley, I can explain. Let's meet soon. Alone. Daniel's pulse pounded. His mother had tried to confront Ashley directly. likely on the morning she vanished. By noon, Agent Chun and a forensic tech arrived at the house. Chun moved through the evidence with surgical calm, cataloging everything. "You did good, Daniel," she said quietly. "We'll process the flash drive and safe. You just gave us probable cause for search and arrest." She turned to the tech. "Put out a bolo on Ashley Kowalski." She may attempt to flee. The tech nodded, already radioing dispatch. Daniel's mind spun. If Ashley was involved in Margaret's disappearance, she hadn't worked alone. Hiding a car in a forest, moving logs, Ashley didn't have that kind of strength. There had to be an accomplice. As Chim prepared to leave, Daniel caught a glimpse of movement outside. A silver Honda Civic idled at the curb, its windows tinted. The driver, a man in a bald cap, watched the house with flat, predatory eyes. The moment he met Daniel's gaze, the car sped off. Daniel ran outside, scribbled down the plate, partial, but maybe enough. He called it in to Chun. She was already in pursuit, her cruiser siren cutting through the quiet suburban street. Back inside, the house seemed to sigh, the walls echoing with the weight of secrets finally unearthed. Daniel sat in his mother's favorite chair, clutching her scarf, and promised the room and himself he would not stop until he brought her story to light. The evening news carried a new headline: FBI pursues suspect in disappearance of retired teacher. Margaret's face, lined and kind, filled the screen. Daniel felt a surge of bittersweet hope. For the first time in months, the world cared again. The truth was moving, unstoppable now, like spring thaw running downhill. But as the sun set, a single text buzzed through Daniel's phone. "Unknown number. You're making a mistake. Some secret should stay buried." He stared at the words, heart pounding. Someone was watching, closer than he'd ever feared. Morning light sliced through Daniel's blinds, harsh and unwelcome. He hadn't slept. The message haunted him. "You're making a mistake. Some secret should stay buried." It could only mean one thing. He was close, closer than ever, and whoever was watching him now had reason to be afraid. He spent the early hours poring over every scrap of information he'd gathered. Margaret's meticulously organized files offered a strange comfort. For decades, she'd managed life's chaos with color-coded folders and handwritten lists. In her absence, those habits were all that kept Daniel tethered to reality. By 8:30, Agent Chin called. "We ID'd the driver of the silver Honda. His name is Tyler Marsh, late 20s construction worker, priors for burglary and fraud. Known associate of Ashley Kovac. We believe he's her boyfriend and likely her accomplice." Chen's voice was crisp, but Daniel caught the edge of urgency beneath it. "We got a judge to sign off on a search warrant for Ashley's apartment and Tyler's place. Swat is moving now. Stay put at your mother's house. Officers are on their way to watch over you." Within the hour, unmarked police cruisers pulled into the driveway. Daniel, both grateful and unsettled, watched through the window as plainclothes officers took up discreet posts. He turned his focus to Margaret's calendar again, searching for any missed detail. An entry caught his eye. August 15th, called Dr. Morrison, 10:30 a.m. Pharmacy, Ashley, 3 p.m. Ashley was scheduled for later that day, the day Margaret vanished. Had she shown up anyway? Or had she planned her approach for a time when Margaret would be alone? Daniel dialed the doctor's office. Yes. Margaret called the morning of her appointment, apologizing for running late because of construction. But she'd never arrived. The receptionist had assumed she'd rescheduled. He called the pharmacy next. No. They hadn't seen Margaret that day, but they remembered her as a regular. The clerk even recalled a time Ashley picked up a prescription on Mrs. Brennan's behalf. That wasn't unusual, Daniel supposed, but added another layer to Ashley's access. Meanwhile, the search at Ashley's apartment unearthed new evidence. Chun called to update. We found a storage locker key in her nightstand, plus a fake ID in her purse under the name Amanda Kell. Enough cash for a quick escape. She'd packed a bag, Daniel. She was ready to run. At noon, the officers outside reported a car approaching. Rebecca, Daniel's wife, her face drawn with worry. "I couldn't just sit at home," she said, pressing a coffee into his hands. "I heard about the search on the news." They sat together, barely speaking, united by the slow drip of dread. A knock at the door startled them both. Detective Rodriguez, Chen's partner, stood with a folder in hand. "We need to go over Ashley's employment history. She's used 3 aliases in the last 5 years. She worked for at least 6 elderly clients in this region, all wealthy, all with missing valuables or suspicious withdrawals." Daniel's mind raced. "Are any of them missing like my mother?" "Not reported missing, but 2 died under what looked like natural circumstances. Both had large sums transferred to unknown accounts right before death." Rodriguez's eyes narrowed. "We're looking into possible foul play." It was all falling into place. A serial predator, hiding in plain sight, moving from one lonely home to the next, stealing what she could, and sometimes much more. As afternoon faded to dusk, Chin returned, her expression grave. "We served the warrant on the storage locker. Found Margaret's checkbook, jewelry from other clients, stacks of forged checks, and a burner phone. The phone's last text: 'Meet at Miller's Mine tonight. Bring the papers.' Sent from Ashley to Tyler. Time-stamped the day after Margaret disappeared." Daniel's skin prickled. Miller's Mine. He'd driven past 1,000 times as a kid. A closed, dangerous shaft locals warned children to avoid. Why would Ashley and Tyler meet there? "Are you going to search the mine?" Daniel asked. Chin nodded. "Our teams are suiting up now. It's risky, unstable ground, lots of hazards. But if that's where they met, and if they move Margaret's car, we may find more than we bargained for." The waiting felt like suffocation. Daniel found himself pacing the house, replaying memories of his mother, her voice, her laugh, the warmth of her hand on his. Rebecca tried to reassure him, but the fear was contagious. At 10:04 p.m., Chin called. Her voice was tight. "They found evidence, Daniel. In the main shaft, recent disturbance, blue tarp matching the kind from Tyler's van, and remains. Too early to say more, but we believe it's your mother. We'll need you to come in for identification tomorrow." Daniel's knees gave way. Rebecca caught him as he sank onto the couch, a silent howl of grief in his chest. But there was no time for mourning. Not yet. Chun continued. "Tyler and Ashley are still at large. We're issuing warrants for their arrest. Given the evidence, they have nowhere left to hide." Outside, red and blue lights painted the night as more officers arrived, radios crackling with new developments. Daniel realized he was a target, too. He'd gotten too close, uncovered too much. The phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown number. "You should have let it go. Now it's your turn." Daniel stared out into the darkness, heart pounding. The web was tightening. But he would not back down. He owed his mother, and every one of Ashley's victims, the truth. He braced for a long, dangerous night. The hunt was on, and Daniel was no longer just a grieving son. He was bait in a deadly game. Morning broke cold and gray over Blackwood. Sunlight filtered through rain clouds as Daniel Brennan faced a new reality. The people who murdered his mother were out there, and now they wanted him silenced. The police presence around his home tightened. Marked cruisers idled at the curb, and officers patrolled the street. But Daniel's mind was churning with another kind of vigilance. A reckoning was coming, and he needed to be ready. Detective Chin met him just after dawn with grim news. Ashley and Tyler are on the run. They abandoned their apartment. Neighbors say they saw them leave in a hurry, carrying duffel bags. Credit cards are cold, phones off. They're experienced at disappearing. Daniel ran a hand over his stubbled jaw. Do you think they'll try to come here? Chen's eyes held a hard edge. We can't rule anything out. The day blurred into a flurry of official tasks. Daniel provided a statement, sat through more interviews, reviewed the small mountain of evidence with Chun and Rodriguez. At the morgue, his worst fear was confirmed. The blue tarp, the clothing, and a gold watch engraved world's best grandma, all unmistakably Margaret's. Daniel stood silent as the forensic team cataloged his mother's final possessions. He pressed his palm to the cool glass, whispered goodbye, and swore he'd see justice done. Rebecca stayed with him at the house, determined not to leave him alone. They moved as if underwater, every noise outside a possible threat. But as dusk settled, Daniel's mind kept returning to the message on his phone. You should have let it go. Now it's your turn. It was meant to paralyze him with fear, but it sparked something different, a relentless need for answers. Late that night, Chin called with a chilling update. We tracked a stolen sedan. Ashley and Tyler hit an ATM for cash, then vanished again. But security footage from a gas station caught Ashley looking right at the camera. She sent Daniel the still. Ashley's expression was gaunt, haunted, eyes darting over her shoulder. She was running, but from whom? The law or Tyler? Daniel paced the living room, the weight of grief and rage like lead in his chest. He couldn't help but replay every conversation with Ashley, the way she positioned herself in the family, the lies she told, her expertise at making herself indispensable. How many other families had trusted her, let her in, never realizing the wolf beneath the sheep's smile? His phone buzzed again, this time with a call from a blocked number. He hesitated, then answered. Daniel, it's me. He recognized Ashley's voice instantly. Don't hang up, she pleaded. Please. Tyler's lost it. He thinks you have something. Evidence, money, I don't even know. He's talking about making you disappear like your mother. Daniel's mouth went dry. Why are you calling me? I need help, she said, her voice cracking. He's out of control. He's been violent before, but never like this. I just wanted money. I never wanted anyone hurt. Daniel's hand tightened around the phone. Where are you? I can't say. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called. The line went dead. Daniel relayed the call to Chin immediately. She's scared, Chin said. She's cracking. If she runs from Tyler, she might come to you, Daniel, or try to bargain for immunity. Stay alert. That night, Daniel double-checked the locks and kept the fire poker by the bed. Every creak in the old house sent his heart racing. Sleep came in broken fragments. By morning, the news had broken. Every local channel was running Margaret Brennan's photo, Ashley and Tyler's mugshots, and a growing list of stolen valuables. Old client of Ashley's began calling police, missing jewelry, cash, unexplained withdrawals. Daniel wondered how many quiet, overlooked crimes Ashley had committed while smiling over a cup of tea. It was Rebecca who noticed something odd while helping Daniel organize his mother's files. Look at this, she said, handing over a manila envelope. It's sealed, but it's addressed to you, dated the week before she disappeared. Daniel slit the envelope open with trembling hands. Inside was a single-page letter, handwritten in his mother's careful script. Dearest Daniel, if you're reading this, it means something has happened, and I couldn't explain in person. I've grown suspicious of Ashley. There have been strange withdrawals, and she's begun asking questions about the safe. Please check the ledger I keep in the kitchen cabinet. I'm worried she's not who she says she is. Trust your instincts, just as I trusted mine, to raise you right. Love, Mom. Tears sprang to Daniel's eyes. Even in her final days, Margaret had tried to protect him, to warn him. He raced to the kitchen, dug behind the flour canisters, and found a small blue ledger. Flipping through it, he saw pages of notes. Times Ashley arrived, items that went missing, conversations that seemed off. On the final page, a hastily scrawled line. Tyler? She said her boyfriend is helping with something big. If anything happens to me, look at Ashley and Tyler. Love you. It was as if Margaret was speaking from beyond the grave, guiding Daniel step by step. He photographed every page, sent copies to Chun. This is the last piece, she said. We can indict Ashley for financial fraud, theft, conspiracy to commit murder. If we catch her, we have enough to bury her in court. But catching her was a challenge. Tyler was violent, desperate, and cornered. Ashley was terrified, unpredictable. And Daniel was their most visible link to the case, a living, breathing threat to their freedom. The next twist came that afternoon. An officer monitoring the street reported a white van idling 2 blocks away. The license plates were stolen. By the time police arrived, it was gone. But Daniel's phone buzzed one last time that day. Another text from the unknown number. See you soon. By sunset, Blackwood was a town on edge. Daniel felt the trap closing. He had his mother's truth. But now, he needed to survive long enough to see it through. Daniel barely slept that night, haunted by his mother's voice in the letter and the chilling promise of Ashley's call. In every shadow, he saw Tyler's looming figure. In every whisper, Ashley's panic confession replayed. The sense of being stalked, hunted, tightened around him like a vice. Every knock on the door, every engine on the street, sent his heart racing. By morning, law enforcement presence swelled in Blackwood. Unmarked cars cruised Daniel Street. Detective Chin stationed a plainclothes officer on the porch. Rebecca refused to leave Daniel's side, though the worry in her eyes grew deeper with each hour. If they're desperate, they might try anything, she warned. Daniel didn't argue. He double-checked the locks for the 100th time and kept his mother's old brass lamp, now a weapon, by the door. Chin briefed him on the progress. Ashley's phone pinged a cell tower near the state line. They're trying to disappear. She may be trying to ditch Tyler. But that text, see you soon, it was likely Tyler. He's the threat, not her. Daniel spent the day on edge, sorting through the blue ledger, rereading Margaret's careful observations. She had documented everything. The days Ashley showed up late, the small valuables that vanished, the odd excuses about missing cash. The final entry stuck out now. Ashley nervous. On phone with Tyler, whispers about a score. If something happens, tell Daniel. Do not trust them. He texted Chun. Mom left everything for us to find. She knew. Chin replied, she may have saved other families too. We're building the biggest elder fraud case this county has ever seen. Midday brought another shock. Mrs. Chun, the other elderly neighbor Ashley had cared for, called Daniel in tears. She'd checked her own finances after seeing the news. Daniel, I think Ashley stole from me, too. Jewelry, cash. Things I didn't notice at first. What if she did something to Margaret because my mom was going to police? Daniel comforted her as best he could, but the pain in her voice lingered long after he ended the call. As the sun lowered, a new clue arrived. Surveillance from a rural gas station showed Tyler alone, buying food, cash, and duct tape. The timestamp was just an hour old. The station was less than 10 miles from Daniel's house. He's circling, Chin said. Stay inside. We have patrols out. Do not answer the door to anyone but police. Darkness descended quickly, a summer storm blowing in with thunder and sheets of rain. The power flickered, shadows stretching and dancing across the walls. Rebecca locked herself in the guest room to call her sister, while Daniel wandered restlessly, unable to sit still. He replayed every possible scenario, trying to anticipate Tyler's next move. He didn't have to wait long. At 9:07 p.m., the lights went out. Total blackout. Daniel froze, heart pounding. Seconds later, the unmistakable crunch of footsteps on wet gravel came from outside. Daniel reached for his phone, but the battery was dead. He'd forgotten to charge it after hours of anxious calls and texts. He grabbed the brass lamp, his only weapon, and moved toward the kitchen, pressing himself against the wall. The back door rattled. Someone was trying to force it open. Daniel edged closer, every nerve screaming. Suddenly, a crash. The kitchen window shattered inward, and a shadow climbed through, silent, methodical. Tyler's voice, low and dangerous. "Didn't think you'd be this easy, Daniel." Daniel's pulse hammered. He raised a lamp, but Tyler was too quick. The ex-con rushed him, the two men colliding with a sickening force. Daniel fought blindly, landing a wild blow at the lamp. Tyler grunted, staggered, then drove Daniel to the floor. In the chaos, Rebecca's scream echoed from upstairs. "Daniel!" Tyler snarled. "You brought your wife? Bad move." Daniel fought, desperate, but Tyler's strength was overwhelming. The gun appeared, his father's revolver, taken from Margaret's house. The cold muzzle pressed against Daniel's temple. Combination to the safe, Daniel. Last chance. "I don't know it." Daniel lied, voice shaking. Tyler's hand trembled on the trigger. "You're lying. Ashley said you know. You're smarter than your mother, but not smart enough." Rebecca's voice cut through the chaos. "Police are on their way, Tyler. Let him go." Tyler looked up, wild-eyed. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had triggered the silent alarm at the station. He cursed, hauling Daniel to his feet and dragging him toward the basement door. "We're finishing this at the mine," Tyler hissed. "If I can't have the money, I'll make sure nobody else does." He shoved Daniel down the stairs, zip-tying his wrists with practiced efficiency. Daniel's world spun, a flood of images. His mother's gentle smile, Rebecca's courage, the betrayal of trust that had started it all. Tyler's plan was clear now. Force Daniel to the mine, make him open the safe, and erase every witness. Rebecca, meanwhile, scrambled for her phone, hand shaking. The 911 dispatcher's voice was calm as she relayed the situation. "Help is on the way. Officers are converging on your location. Stay hidden. Lock the doors." Upstairs, Rebecca heard Tyler's threats, the sound of Daniel's struggles. She barricaded herself in the bathroom, waiting, praying, as police sirens grew closer. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating Tyler's white van idling in the alley, engine running. Downstairs, Tyler dragged Daniel through the rain, shoving him into the van. The ride was a blur, bumpy, wet, the headlights carving tunnels of white through the storm. Daniel braced himself, searching for anything, any weapon, any hope. Minutes stretched into eternity. Tyler's grip never loosened. At last, the van lurched to a stop, deep in the woods near the old mine shaft where Margaret's body had been hidden. Tyler's plan was obvious. No one would find him in time. Daniel's hope began to fade, but fate had other plans. Back at the house, Rebecca saw blue and red lights flood the yard. Police poured inside, finding the smashed window, the trail of muddy footprints. Chen's face was grim as she found Rebecca. Where did they go? Tyler took Daniel. He said the mine. "Please hurry." Chen relayed orders, mobilizing every unit in the county. The hunt was on, but the storm and darkness worked against them. At the mine, Tyler yanked Daniel from the van, dragging him toward the black mouth of the shaft. The rain was relentless, thunder shaking the trees. "Last chance," Tyler snarled, gun pressed to Daniel's side. "Open the safe, or you join your mother." Daniel shook his head, staring into the abyss. "Fine. Down you go." Tyler shoved Daniel to the edge. But then a beam of light swept the clearing. Police dropped the weapon. Tyler spun, firing wildly. Bullets cracked through the night, but the police floodlights blinded him. Daniel threw himself aside as Tyler's shots missed. A single shot echoed, a sharp, clean report. Tyler staggered, dropped the gun, and fell to his knees. Officers rushed in, pulling Daniel to safety, cuffing the bleeding Tyler as he howled curses into the storm. Daniel collapsed, shaking with relief, as Chun knelt beside him. "It's over. You did it, Daniel. Your mother can finally rest." As the rain eased and the forest quieted, Daniel realized the nightmare had ended. Margaret's murder was avenged, her killers brought to justice. But the wounds of trust, of loss, of betrayal would take much longer to heal. Morning in Blackwood brought a stillness that felt unreal, as if the whole world were holding its breath after the chaos of the storm. Daniel sat in the small hospital room, Rebecca dozing beside him, both exhausted but alive. Medics had patched the cuts on his wrists and checked the bruises spreading across his face and ribs, but it was emotional wounds that throbbed the deepest. Chun came by before sunrise, her clothes still damp from the rescue. "We found Tyler's phone in the van," she said. "You're going to want to see this." She handed Daniel a sealed evidence bag. Inside, the cracked screen lit up to reveal a string of messages, some from Ashley, some unknown numbers, others saved in a hidden notes app. Daniel's hands shook as he scrolled through them. "We need the money." She's getting suspicious. "Don't screw this up, Tyler. I'll distract her. Meet me at the safe tonight." Below that, "Already followed the old lady once. Know her routes. If she talks, we're dead." And then, the last message never sent. "Leaving soon. If anything happens to me, it's all on her." The realization hit Daniel with icy clarity. Ashley had been planning to betray Tyler all along. She manipulated him. But the deeper architect of this nightmare had always been her. Margaret had sensed it. Now Daniel saw it in the digital footprints left behind. The police, meanwhile, descended on every property linked to Ashley Kovich. At her apartment, officers uncovered Margaret's missing jewelry, small bundles of cash, and a list of clients with amounts written next to each name. Chen's team found fake passports, burner phones, and a notebook coated with references to elderly neighbors across 3 counties. The investigation swelled, drawing the FBI's Elder Fraud Task Force. "This is bigger than we thought," Chen said, pointing to the growing web on the case board, lines stretching from Blackwood across the state. "Your mother was the first to catch on, but there are dozens more victims." As word spread, local news vans circled the Brennan house, hungry for interviews. Daniel, gaunt and hollow-eyed, gave one careful statement from the porch. "My mother was a teacher for 40 years. She taught us to question what doesn't add up, to trust our instincts, and to fight for those who can't fight for themselves. She tried to warn us all. We should have listened sooner." It was picked up by every network. Margaret Brennan, the teacher who wouldn't be fooled. The community began leaving flowers on the porch, strangers sharing their own stories of caregivers who had crossed boundaries or stolen small things, only to be dismissed or ignored. Ashley remained at large. Every day, new rumors arrived. She'd been seen at a truck stop near the state line. A waitress in a diner recognized her photo. But by then, Ashley was gone, leaving behind a half-eaten sandwich and a mug of untouched coffee. Chun worked the phones endlessly, tracing credit card receipts, piecing together Ashley's route. A break came 3 days later. A surveillance camera at a bus depot in Memphis caught Ashley boarding a Greyhound. Hair dyed red, sunglasses pulled low. She used a stolen ID but made a mistake, signing her real last name on the baggage tag. Chun dispatched U.S. Marshals to intercept her at the next major city. But Ashley was always a step ahead, slipping through their fingers like smoke. For Daniel, every update felt like reopening a wound. He wanted justice, closure. But with every passing day, Ashley's absence became a reminder that evil doesn't always get caught. It was only after the worst was over, when the police tape came down, when the house was finally quiet, that Daniel had time to face his grief. Rebecca, gentle but persistent, made him eat, sleep, and breathe. "She'd want you to live, not just survive," she reminded him. Daniel spent long hours in Margaret's study, sifting through her meticulous records. In the margin of her final notebook, she'd written, "If you're reading this, trust yourself." Evil often hides behind a friendly face. Never stop looking. Weeks passed. Margaret's funeral drew a crowd so large the local church couldn't hold them all. Former students traveled from out of state, sharing stories of her kindness, her sharp wit, her absolute refusal to let anything slide. She once noticed I was getting bullied. One man said, choking up at the podium. She called my parents, arranged for tutoring, and made sure the principal actually did something. That's why I graduated. After the service, Daniel sat alone in the pew, the silence settling around him. "I wish I'd been as sharp as she was," he whispered. "I wish I'd seen it coming." Chin joined him, holding a sealed envelope. "We finished processing the safe," she said. "This was inside, along with the jewelry and bonds. It's addressed to you." Daniel broke the wax seal and pulled out a handwritten letter. "Daniel, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry for leaving you with such a mess. But I couldn't ignore what I saw. I knew something was wrong with Ashley and Tyler, but I had to be sure. I hope you understand. Sometimes the best way to protect the people you love is to trust your instincts, even when others say you're overreacting. I know you'll do the right thing. I'm proud of you, always. Love, Mom." Daniel wept, the grief finally breaking through the numbness. The case against Ashley and Tyler grew into a national scandal. News magazines ran exposés on the vulnerability of the elderly. Lawmakers held hearings on elder abuse, and local agencies received an influx of calls from worried families. In the aftermath, Daniel found himself drawn into advocacy, working with Chun and others to create programs protecting seniors from the very predators who had targeted his mother. But one question lingered, gnawing at him every night. Why had Ashley really targeted Margaret? Was it just for the money, or was there something deeper, something personal? It wasn't until Chin showed him an old yearbook photo, found in a box of Margaret's papers, that the final piece clicked into place. Ashley's mother, her real mother, had been a student of Margaret's decade before, expelled for theft. The humiliation had rippled through generations. Ashley hadn't just wanted money. She'd wanted revenge. And that changed everything. In the gathering dusk of a long summer, Daniel finally understood. The wounds of betrayal cut deepest when they're personal. And sometimes, evil circles for years, waiting for a moment to strike. But courage, too, can be passed down, one lesson, one warning, one act of stubborn refusal at a time. Daniel Brennan had never realized how a single notebook could haunt a man. Weeks after Margaret's funeral, with the world moving on and the media shifting to the next tragedy, he found himself clutching his mother's ledger, her financial Bible. It was a battered, spiral-bound thing, filled with Margaret's tiny, careful handwriting. But it wasn't just numbers and check marks. It was a secret map of her final months. And as Daniel pored over it, he realized the case was far from over. Margaret had always been meticulous. She'd written dates, names, sometimes even little observations. "Strange phone call today." Ashley looked nervous. "Check him out, not right. Must follow up." There were coded marks, exclamation points, question marks, circled entries. Now, Daniel saw a pattern he'd missed before. Payments to Ashley had increased sharply in the last 2 months, with the notations growing more agitated. One entry, 3 weeks before her disappearance, chilled him. Ashley requested extra cash. Says it's for a new client who needs groceries. Seemed odd. Must check with Daniel if time. He turned the page and found another note in the margin. Called Mrs. Chun about Ashley's references. Something doesn't add up. Mrs. Chun, the neighbor. Daniel suddenly realized he hadn't checked on her since the arrests. His heart pounded. He called, but there was no answer. After several tries, he drove over, his anxiety mounting with each passing block. Mrs. Chen's house was dark, the lawn overgrown. Daniel knocked, called out. No reply. He peered through the window and saw stacks of unopened mail and newspapers. Alarmed, he phoned Detective Chun, no relation, though Margaret had always joked about the Chin Club, and soon police arrived, forcing the door. Inside, the smell of rot hit them instantly. Mrs. Chun was gone, vanished, her purse and keys still on the kitchen counter, her calendar marked with Ashley. Errands, 10 a.m., the very day Margaret vanished. The implication was obvious. Ashley hadn't just stolen from Margaret. She'd been preying on Mrs. Chin, too. A forensics team scoured the house and found signs of struggle. Broken glass behind the sofa, a faint bloodstain on the carpet, and Mrs. Chin's jewelry box emptied, its contents nowhere be found. Outside, in the garage, the police found an old sedan, dust-covered but with mud on the tires, and a faint reek of bleach from the trunk. Detective Chin looked grim. "Ashley is good at covering her tracks," she said. "But we're building a pattern, multiple victims, maybe more than we ever guess." Meanwhile, the investigation widened. Daniel, restless and unable to sleep, threw himself into research. He tracked Ashley's aliases through old credit applications, finding connections to other towns, other names. A Lydia, a Rachel, a Sandra, each linked to elderly victims who've been robbed, disappeared, or whose deaths have been ruled natural causes. The numbers were staggering. One night, digging through old police case files from a neighboring county, Daniel noticed a familiar name, Tyler Marsh, Ashley's boyfriend. Tyler had worked construction jobs near several other natural deaths. Each time, the story was the same: an elderly woman with a new caregiver, sudden health problems, a suspicious fall, or accident. In every case, Ashley had vanished before police could question her. He brought this to Detective Chun, who looped in the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit. Soon, the investigation became a manhunt. National bulletins, wanted posters, even an episode on a true crime TV show, Cold Pursuit. The case became a sensation, with internet sleuths poring over the details and sharing tips from all over the country. But for Daniel, the attention fell hollow. "It's not about the headlines," he told Rebecca late one night. "It's about justice for Mom and for all the others." Rebecca nodded, squeezing his hand. She'd be proud. "You're doing exactly what she would have done." It was Rebecca, actually, who found the next big clue. Sorting through Margaret's effects, she discovered a thumb drive hidden in a book of poetry. On it were scanned receipts, emails, and an audio file labeled Ashley Interview. Margaret, ever the teacher, had recorded a conversation with Ashley 2 weeks before her death. In the recording, Margaret's voice was firm but kind. "Ashley, these checks. Did you really buy groceries for Mrs. Chun? She says she hasn't seen you in weeks." Ashley's reply was smooth, practiced. "Oh, Mrs. Chen's memory isn't what it used to be. I'm just helping out. Sometimes she forgets to thank me. But you withdrew money from her account the day she went missing." A pause, then colder. "Margaret, are you accusing me of something? I just want to get things clear. I've been keeping records. I'd hate for there to be any confusion." The audio ended with Margaret promising to follow up with her son. Daniel played the file for Detective Chun, who listened, jaw tight. "Your mother was setting a trap," she said, and Ashley knew it. With this new evidence, the FBI focused on Ashley's extended network. She left behind more than just a trail of victims. There were former accomplices, ex-boyfriends, and even a family member who had died under odd circumstances years before. A deeper pattern emerged. Ashley didn't just target victims for money. She manipulated, isolated, and sometimes eliminated anyone who threatened her schemes. But one question remained unsolved. Where was Ashley now? And what had happened to Mrs. Chun? Daniel spent every day searching, every night dreaming of his mother's warning. Trust your instincts. One morning, he received an anonymous letter in his mailbox, a single-page typewritten. "You're getting close, but not close enough. Stop digging, or you'll end up like your mother." No return address, no fingerprints, but Daniel recognized the threat for what it was, a sign that Ashley, or someone close to her, was still watching. He showed the letter to Detective Chun, who ordered extra patrols past his house. "She's scared," Chin said. "That means we're hurting her. Keep going, but be careful." But it was the smallest clue, a gas station receipt from a town 3 states away. That would finally break the case open. Detective Chin got a call from a store clerk who'd seen a woman matching Ashley's photo, driving an old pickup, a dog in the passenger seat, paying cash for everything. She left behind a receipt for motor oil and dog food, scribbling a phone number on the back. For the first time in months, Daniel felt hope. Maybe, just maybe, the end was in sight. The morning of sentencing, the courthouse was wrapped in fog, as if the world itself wanted to hush the end of the caretaker-killer saga. Reporters jostled for position, true crime bloggers whispered about movie deals, and inside, Daniel Brennan braced himself for the final act. Ashley Kovich, the woman who dismantled his mother's life and left a trail of ruin across 3 states, listened impassively as the judge read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. Life without parole. She blinked, briefly looked down at her hands, and then glanced up right at Daniel. Their eyes met for just a heartbeat. "You know what you did," Daniel said softly, not for her but for himself. She only tilted her head, an unreadable smile flickering at the corners of her mouth. After the verdict, Daniel returned home, alone for the first time in months. The house was full of absence. Margaret's favorite mug on the rack, her gardening gloves by the back door, unopened mail stacked neatly in the foyer. The news vans were gone, but the quiet felt heavier than the media circus ever had. He started going through the rest of his mother's things with a different kind of purpose, searching not for evidence, but for something to hold on to. That's when he found it, a small, battered cassette tape labeled in his mother's precise script. For Daniel, only open if you ever doubt me. He nearly dropped it. The tape player was still in her nightstand, a relic from a simpler era. Daniel sat on the bed, took a shaky breath, and pressed play. Margaret's voice crackled through, steady and gentle. "Daniel, if you're hearing this, it means something's happened. I want you to remember, I love you, and I'm sorry if my trusting nature led me to danger. If you're searching for answers, look in the garden. The truth is sometimes buried right beneath our feet." Daniel's hand shook as he rewound the tape, listening again and again. It was her, no fear, just a mother thinking of her son. That night, under a weak porch light, Daniel dug in the corner of the garden where Margaret's favorite butterfly bushes grew. His shovel struck metal. He unearthed a weathered tin box, sealed with electrical tape. Inside, a bundle of papers, a USB drive, and a faded photograph of Margaret with a much younger woman. Ashley Kovich, her hair dark, face softer, eyes haunted. The letter on top was dated 3 months before the disappearance. "Dearest Daniel, I suspect Ashley of taking small amounts from my accounts. At first, I thought I was misplacing things, but the patterns are clear. She's clever. She forges my handwriting, uses my checks, but leaves just enough behind to avoid suspicion. I've recorded her visits, kept every receipt and a backup of my bank statements on this drive. If anything happens to me, please don't blame yourself. Bring this to the police, but more importantly, don't let her hurt anyone else. Love, always, Mom." He stared at the photo. In the corner, written in Margaret's hand, "Ashley, after her mother's funeral, 2012. A pang of sympathy pierced Daniel's anger. Ashley had lost her own mother just before starting her path of crime. Was that where the darkness began? With the new evidence, Daniel called Detective Chun. She was stunned. "Your mother did more detective work than half my rookie squad," she said, a rare smile breaking through her weariness. The USB held days' worth of secret recordings. Ashley muttered to herself as she went through Margaret's house, even talking on the phone with Tyler, plotting their thefts. The evidence led to even more discoveries. 3 missing persons cold cases reopened, 2 elderly women who'd vanished from neighboring counties now tied to Ashley and Tyler. The DA called it the single most significant break in the case. A year later, on the anniversary of Margaret's disappearance, Daniel organized a memorial in Blackwood National Forest. Survivors of Ashley's other victims came, along with their families, journalists, and a few police officers who'd spent months unraveling the web. As the crowd gathered, Daniel shared the truth. His mother hadn't just been a victim. She'd fought back, quietly and courageously, even as her world shrank under suspicion. Her diligence and intuition had given dozens of families closure. At the close of the ceremony, Daniel returned home, sat in the garden, and played the tape one last time. Margaret's voice, warm and certain, filled the air. Daniel, always trust your instincts. Love and forgive. That's how we heal. He looked out at the butterfly bushes, now thick with blooms and new life, and realized that Margaret Brennan's story was not just a tale of loss, but a persistence, of a mother's legacy, and of the truth refusing to stay buried. As twilight faded in the garden filled with soft summer light, Daniel finally allowed himself to hope again. Justice had come, slow, imperfect, but real, and so had peace. If you found this story as haunting as we did, help keep Margaret's memory alive by hitting the like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another true crime deep dive. And if you think someone you know will want to hear this story, please share it. Every share, every subscriber, and every comment helps us bring more hidden stories like this one to light.